So if it is storing something without collision and then the same amount of effort is there on retrieving that, so definitely that will be the much faster one. So basic objective that can be designed a perfect hash function, but there are many constant and challenges, but this is the designer's objective that you must try to design a perfect hash function. Okay, so objective we start with that, and sometimes suppose you try to work on, as I say in the last class, you are working on a face recognition system, you develop a good algorithm to match the faces. Now we have thousand students, maybe you have million number of people. In particular, in China, the camera network so strong that if anyone enters into this country, the whole camera network is such they are able to identify where the person is. It's a very strong camera network, very good technology. So that involves, you see, a distributed type of application and searching and matching that will be very fast. That will be very fast. And second, I told you how to design a index, how to design a roll number or a primary key. I told you the example that you are very casually designing a roll number, looking into that first three fields will be, one is the branch code, another is the year, another is the, and then two alphabet representing computer science, then the serial number. But you are not looking into application. This is the difference between computer people and the other people who do the coding. They simply do the coding to provide a meaningful information from the roll number. That's all. If you'll have a look into the roll number, you can say this, he or she is from computer science, admitted as a batch number 12, and then in the year 2020. That's all. But if a computer person is going to do that, then he may be try to design a roll number with self-checking code. That means when you are typing the roll number and I have to perform a hash, I need to ensure that no such duplicate number is exist. I'll add certain bits, I'll append certain bits, and the roll number is such that it will be a self-checking. So if I'll try to check the roll number whether they are in the database, I'll check whole database, and if database is large, to get a information that this student is not here will take a good amount of time. So maybe alternative is that we can go for the hash function. Similarly, in the hashing also, if your roll number is such a design that you are not able to develop a hash function because the roll number is the design is such. So if a designer has an idea that I am going to store it using a database, then he must thought about designing the key field so that he can design an efficient hash function. So that is the reason the computer science people comes to the picture, because you have a knowledge about the how the data is to be organized using any database B tree. So what will be the coding? And I think the coding part you may not come across in your course, but if you will go through a book, a system analysis designed by Rajaraman from Prentice Hall of India. It is a system analysis design book. You'll be finding a good section is talking about how to design the primary key. Which one will be the primary key is something different. How to design the primary key. We try to put maximum information. We can take a decision by only the row number. Maybe one application is that you try to develop a hash function. You could not able to do it because the roll number is wrongly coded. It could have been used a better codified scheme. Okay, so in the perfect hash function, that means if you want to design a perfect hash function, the perfect hash function design will be affected because of the coding or because of the information you try to put into a roll number or you can send a primary key. So what a perfect hash function has many of the same application that other than hash function, but with the advantage that no collision is the objective, so that we try to design it or the implementation is without collision. So has to be implemented in mathematical term. It is a injective function. So if you look into classic mathematics, mathematical term, that means it is not going to uh, map or it is not going to map into different location. So next line is says the comparison between the perfect hash function and the randomized algorithm. Sometimes you'll be finding a typical randomized algorithm is good in comparison to a casually chosen hash function, that you can avoid collision just by writing a simply randomized algorithm. So this is very simple because um, uh, what this particular diagram tried to say, when a person is getting admitted, you do not know. They never comes in order. Suppose John Smith arrives first, then you have a hash function that maps into location number one. Then Lisa Smith arrives next, then they map it into zero. So all the four, they come in a different order, but you will able to accommodate, or your hash function will always generate say unique address or unique hash value. Then the hash function is a perfect hash function. Okay, so a perfect hash function is one that maps to set of actual key values to a table or a location without any collision. This very simple definition, without any collision, if you are storing or able to store. Then comes a minimal perfect hash function. A minimal perfect hash function does so using the table that has only many slots that are the key value to be hashed. Okay, there is it will be if first one is a simple mapping, second one with reference to a hash table. If a set of key is known in advance, that means you know. Known in advance means, you see, if you look into your roll number when you got admitted, your roll number is not known. So it is generated batch wise and automatically computer generates. We know maximum 9 fields, but you do not know what is the exact roll number. It says the roll number is known. That means in a branch I have 30 students. I know my roll number starting from 001 to 0030. Roll number is known. Roll number is known. Then it is possible to construct a specialized hash function that is perfect. But in most of the reality cases, we do not know the roll numbers in advance. Like see, you are, suppose the country decided that we'll be implementing a policy, everyone will be using only one number for school, college, or any other business, that is your Aadhaar card number. When you try to join to the institute, your roll number will be the Aadhaar card number, let us say. So I do not know who are the people who are supposed to join. I take the Aadhaar card number as the input, and I have 30, a table size of 30 for a particular branch. Then I have to develop a hash function where this Aadhaar card number has to map to any number from 1 to 30. And I do not know who are the 30 students joining. If I can design a hash function that can map any arbitrary 30 students without any collision to a table size of 30, that function is a perfect hash function. Okay, so we have these are the simple, this is a Chichili's method. So how to design a perfect hash function. So just to remember, don't go into the depth that some people are working. This is one of the research area. You can say people try to do design the perfect hash function. I have loaded one or two papers, so you can peep into that, how to design a perfect hash function. So what basically they try to do, instead of using a single algorithm, they try to use multiple algorithm, or there are a phase one, phase two, or multi-phase activity, and in that process they try to they design a perfect hash function. Okay, so this is the explanation of the perfect hash function, which is very simple. It try to take the key value, which is alphabets, and then it try to calculate the frequency of the letter that starts, I mean, that starts, and calculating the frequency of the letter. Uh, a particular scheme has to be designed and score has to be calculated. Some indirectly you can say some randomized method, some heuristic comes to your mind, and you try to explore that. It's a open, it's a open type of problem. So I don't want to, I just, this is for your information. There are various methods to design perfect hash function. Okay, in case you come across a problem where somebody has applied a hash function and you have to modify that paper, or you have to contribute a new, you have studied that paper, then you are finding hash function is a key. So when people ask you do it differently, you can select, can I change this hash function to increase the efficiency? So then you only supposed to know what are the alternatives, how I can change the hash function. Is there any better hash function? Can I apply perfect hash function? So with this information, one can start. So some transformation method is explained. I don't want to go through that because I have to complete the dynamic hashing. Then this mostly it try to explore the number of characters it is presenting to develop a hash function. So we have some final comment. The minimal size of the description of perfect hash function depends on the range of the function value. So usually the smaller the range, the more space is required, because when you have a smaller range mapping, I mean all the numbers like this, suppose you take a very consecutive numbers and then the hash function designing is difficult, you need a larger space where you want to map. Any perfect hash function is suitable to use with the hash table that required at least number of bit that is proportional to the size of S. Here the S represent the number of keys you try to map. A perfect hash function with the value is limited range can be used to efficient lookup operation when you have, you can say, symbol table and others, when your number of items or number of variables are small. By placing from the key S, S is usually S is the number of items. So cardinality of S, you can say here it is N, the number of item you try to solve. Using a perfect hash function is the best in situation when there is a frequently queried large set S which is seldom updated. That means you stored the information permanently into a database. Insertion and deletion is very rare, but query is very frequent. And because the retrieval time we have to keep it constant, so we are looking for a perfect hash function. So this actually I have included to one of my presentation. I may we add this one. I have not loaded that. This is one of the perfect hash function which allows the dynamic updates. That means first I told I am looking for a hash function where insertion and deletion is very rare, but searching is predominated. Then I can go for a perfect hash function. So debate starts. Problem remains same. Solution hashing is to be used. That remains same. Now only debate comes how I can design a good hash function. So this is one of the hash function which is suggested, the Cuckoo hashing. The Cuckoo hashing is used that when there is a dynamic updates. That means you want to delete a data or you want to modify the information which you have stored. So again, I say if you're looking into a problem and there are the hash functions, let me tell you, when one of our student he started working because he did two of his internship in blockchain, one in US, another is in IIT Kanpur, because they predominantly work on the security. Uh, so he says I am going to work on the blockchain. But when you look into that, when you ask someone to modify or can you think of how to design a different type of algorithm. So what is different? That is the question. So one of this thinking, again I am repeating, you can look into the possibility, can I replace the hash function which is proposed by the previous researcher with a new hash function? Then you have two formula, successful search, unsuccessful search. So compare different techniques in terms of SN and UN, and if your technique is found to be different, then definitely you can claim ki my technique or my algorithm has a edge over others. So these are few information. So then there is a minimal perfect hash function. This is also talks about mapping, and just like the average case analysis, we study what is the minimum number of uh, query required, then at least the perfect percentage and the size of the key. So a lot of mathematics are involved. So just there are two three keywords you should remember. That is, one is the minimal perfect hash function, because if you'll find this word again, I'm repeating, on a literature, on a paper, on a problem, maybe you are working on a security paper, their hash function comes. So you just you must not think it is a simple word. That will be the keyword where you can do something different. Okay, so I've already told you how one student has used these things. He was working on biometric security, but she able to apply the hash and the iris information she tried to store only by proposing a hash function. She contributed a one chapter to her PhD thesis. Okay, now this is what I have started, that is a cryptographic hash function. Cryptographic hash functions are the algorithms. There are many cryptographic hash function you must have heard of. The basic objective of the cryptographic hash function. So this is a algorithm. This cryptographic hash function is a algorithm. It takes a arbitrary amount of data input or a credential and produces a fixed size of the ciphertext. That means you can say, can I store, can I use a cryptographic hash function to store my password? Answer is yes. Answer is yes. Okay, so here the name the cryptographic is borrowed because the cryptographic idea has been taken. So this is a cryptographic hash function. I think these are very simple terms when we talk about the ciphertext and plain text. So the function is going to translate, or the algorithm is going to translate from plain text to the ciphertext. And sometimes depending on the capability, it's very difficult. The reverse one, you cannot go back from the ciphertext to the plain text. So this is the simple definition of the cryptographic hash function. Why the hash it is included in the domain of the hash function? You look into that. The message which you try to map with a hash function is a lengthy one. If you compare, that may be 64-bit, but when you try to apply the hash function, it stores into 4-bit. So if you take 64-bit, you can store, let us say, 0 and 1. So that has got much more alternative in comparison to if you map to the 4-bit, where you can maximum store 2 to the power 4 alternatives. So hash function or this cryptographic hash function are the algorithm that maps a message bit which is of arbitrary length or a very large length. In reality, it is arbitrary length, but your password table where you store this is of fixed length. Maybe sometimes you can say a particular system allows me only 8-character password, but it says, okay, you enter a long password, but it will be store only 8-character by translating those string into 8-character through a setup function. So the value returned by the hash function are called message digest or simply the hash value. And the following picture shows that the key things is that the input or the key value is very large, and the what you stored there is very small or a limited number of bit. So the properties of cryptographic hash function, so that is a non-reversibility. Okay, and so diffusion, and you can go through this avalanche effect. And what is exactly avalanche effect? A change is just 1 bit of original password should result in the range to the half of the bits into the hash. That means if you try to change, it is going to store at a different location. So imagine, suppose you are using a self-addressable or type of memory where every password has stored at a unique location. That means why it is required? You type the password. I have a password file. If I'll perform sequential search, unnecessary time. If I'll go for even binary search, that means every time new user joins, I have to sort my file. That is also not encouraged. If you go for a B tree, I do not know how many users are joining, deleting. So tree management business will be a tough. If you are using a hash table, whenever a new user joins, you map into in such a way that whenever he log in, it will take minimum time because you will take its password and search to get the thing confirmed that this password matches. That is the reason this cryptographic hash function is popular, or hashing is come to the picture. Then your determinism, a given password must always generate the same hash value or the encrypted text. Otherwise, when you log in and you try to uh, pass through a hash function, it must map to the same. That means you are not using any randomized bit type of thing, that once you translate a bit you got something, and second time when you try to use you got something. Okay, so if any of you know that how password is being stored in a typical operating system or any of the chapter like your book operating system book, where password authentication and password chapter is there, and if you have covered that thing, you must remember whenever we try to store a password, we take a value called salt value. So my hash function is there to make it more robust. My hash function takes my password and at that particular time when I created the password, it takes a salt value. Salt value is stored in another table. So with two input, it try to encrypt the password, but whenever you try to again access your information or login, the same process is repeated. It accepts a correct password from you and searches the table to get the appropriate salt value which was stored when you create, and with that two input, the hash function try to generate the ciphertext, and that ciphertext has to be matched with the stored information or the location. Okay, so then collision resistance, obviously it's understood that means a particular password you are taking, it is going to land into the unique location so that the searching will be faster, rather than you can say in a single line. Here we try to design a hash function which is perfect. So non-predictable, the hash value should not be predicted from the password. That means it is not so simple that if I am saying the roll number 7401, you cannot say 7 and 4 will be added and then they will be multiplied by the last two digit. It should not be so simple so that someone can get the address. Okay, so so then it talks about the feature of the hash function. The fixed length output should be there because we need to maintain a table where the information has to be stored. That is one of the constraint, that you may pass a string but let it be 8 character or 16 character. So any password has to be generated, has to follow that one. In general, hash is much smaller than the input, hence the hash function are sometimes called compression function. Why this word compression comes? You start with a sentence up to 56 character, and your cryptographic hash function always try to generate 8-bit or 16-bit, or you can say that is the password which you are storing to a table and which you are accessing using the hash property. So efficiency of the operation, generally for any hash function h with input x, the computation of hx is a fast operation. That is one more characteristic. It should not take more time to translate, so it will be a lightweight function and it can be generated, it can be executed with minimum computational cost. So computationally, hash functions are much faster than a symmetric encryption. So in a typical encryption algorithm, it takes more time because they are keeping the data, or maybe you try to store a document, you use a symmetric encryption, and it takes hours together. You can appreciate, okay, my information is more secure, but here the person tried to log in, it want a faster function. So these are the properties. And then the next property is the pre-image resistance. The property means that it should be computationally hard to reverse a hash function. That means if I'll get the password, I cannot use the password to translate or to know the uh, I got the password table or password a file which is encrypted information. So from a encrypted information, I cannot go back to the original. Second, pre-image resistance. This property means given an input and its hash value, it should be hard to find a different input for the same hash. That means it's sometimes also very difficult to design the hash function even your input and output is given, right? Your input and output is given. That means if you got the, if you have a friendship with 10 people, they told their password, then you get a copy of the password file, then you'll be, and then you try to say, if I am storing A, how the A will be stored. So that is also difficult. It's not a simple mapping. When few operating system and this password or authentication tables are designed, the company proudly announce a huge amount of money. He say, if you can crack my system, we'll pay this much. Okay, so then collision resistance. I know this is the property we already talked, that we are looking for a perfect hash function so that it will be collision free or collision resistance, and so that there is always we try to find out this. So this is a typically block of designing the hashing algorithm. So you have the data blocks, or sometimes it is a sentence. That means you try to maybe a sentence of 128 bit or 5.2 bit, maybe everything will be translated to a 16 bit. So we have a mathematical hash function which translates to the hash value. So so the reason again I have explained, because I have to store it in a fixed size table which is always to be referred when someone try to log into the system. So this is a typically design of the hashing algorithm, and you can have the multiple such cascading systems so that the robust this process is repeated in many rounds that are required to hash the entire message. That means initially, you see this first one, I say there is a seed value. Just now I told your password is to be translated. Let us that comes from the message block one. Seed value is the timestamp at that particular time, which is popularly known as a salt value in case of a typical operating system. Uh, I mean, your authentication of the password or how the passwords are stored, you apply the hash function once. Maybe you are using only one part of the message and do it, and here you are getting some input and pass on to the second block. Maybe the whole process you can divide it into number of stages so that the decryption will be difficult. The systematic hashing algorithm is depicted above. Since the hash value is the first message, blocks becomes the input to the second hash will be input to the third hash. So the effect is known as the avalanche effect of the hashing. And what will be the result? The result will be you have got a very good hash function. So that is a different hash value for the two message. Even if it says the two message, I mean the message is identical. Everybody tried to give the same password to a system. 10 friends decided will enter the same password. Okay. And then they try to get a copy of the password file and they try to decode that what is the hashing function. It will be different. If they look into their ciphertext stored in the password file, it is different. Okay, we experienced when we were young, we were curious to know that we asked 2 or 3 friends to type the same password on the Linux, but it is stored in the file. You can visualize the password file, but it looks different. So it is very difficult to predict. So this is one of the application when we talk about designing a cryptographic hash function. So then we have different popular cryptographic hash function. Those who are pursuing security and others, they will come across that. That is one is the message digest function, but the flow is like this. And one more thing you remember, whenever you look into any security standards or hash function, you look into the RFC. Let me tell you, the RFC stands for resource for commit. Whenever these things is proposed by the IEEE or any scheme is adopted, a committee is formed. They prepare a draft proposal. They put that document in a open forum or like in their portal in the web that people can comment. Anybody can be a member of that group. Suppose one group is working on IEEE for the message digest, you can also be a member. Only requirement is that you must be a IEEE member, so you can contribute. So whenever we try to search for the standards of networking, cryptography, or any type of technological standards, we always advise that you please look into the RFC, because the approved standards are locked. Sometimes once in a year IEEE open it for the members, otherwise it is a paid. That means if you look into the internet standard, approved standard of 1321, then you have to pay. And some standards are open, some standards are available in the book, but one must know, because people while working for a problem, they say okay, I am working on an algorithm, I have developed a new things. They claim it because they have not referred to the approved standard, and if you look into that, the approved standard, it is already been implemented. Okay, so um, some of the our students, they work on a protocol that I am working on a secure protocol of ad hoc network. Okay, fine. But they are not aware that SAODV is the protocol which is approved long back. So this is the gap. That's why I try to say you should refer to that. So I'm not going into the details, just for information. Then the first one is your MD5 and second one is your secure hash function SHA. the many versions, and the thing is like that. SHA is designed killed by themselves. MD5 is designed killed by themselves. That means it starts with, you see, MD2, MD4, MD5, MD6. Again, a new group comes. They find out the shortcoming. They crack the MD5. They propose the MD6. Okay, so you see the last sentence in 2004 collision found in MD5. Somebody proved that okay, there are the key value which leads to the collision. So value of the MD5 is questionable. Then it goes to MD6. Okay, so similar things that the limitation comes, and we try to improvise that. I think this is the organization NIST.org, which is developing a standard. It's a National Institute of Standard Technology in the US. For technical and white document, you can refer to the NIST, and we refer for the cloud and others. NIST documents are must. Lot of white paper reports are there. So there you can find approved standard which is not available in the book. Even if it is available book, it is copied from the NIST document, not available in the article of the research paper. Okay, and RIPEMD. So this is one of the cryptographic hash function. Similarly, uh, this is coming from the different group that try to overcome the shortcomings with MD4 or other type of technique. So this is for the information. Then your Whirlpool, this is a 152-bit hash function, and then there are different versions are there like Whirlpool 0, Whirlpool T, and Whirlpool L. So this is we conclude this is with your static hash function and how we are going to do it. Then this is a simple case how the password is stored or the application of the hash function, or in particular you can say application of cryptographic hash function. Okay, so the user has the identity, maybe your user ID, and second is your password, and then you have a storage device. This is the table, this is the hash table where search has to be carried out, and you can explain the step 1, step 2 is the input, step 1 goes to the identity, and this is the password where it is stored, and you try to match. If it is match, it is allowed. If it is not match, you are denied. So data integrity check is another application where we can use integrity check. And when the original data, the whole original data is stored, and again, suppose you try to transmit the whole thing over the network. It's a typical cryptographic things. You receive the original data, and then you can compute the hash value. If hash values are matching, then you can say it's a uh, I mean no, I mean it is not affected by any intruder, or there is no effect to the data. So this is the application of the hash function, how we check. There are two applications. One is called your password, second is your data integrity check. So in the exercise, have included many problems and others, so please go through that. This is something, one or two slides are missing, which I have uploaded. Maybe I'll update the slide. I mean the material which is DSAD hashing. I mean, uh, presently I'm showing you 113 slides, but a few more to be added. I'll update it today. Okay. Next is your we'll come to dynamic hash function. In case of dynamic hash function, actually we have two type of. Okay, let me share the. Some problem in sharing. I'll take 1 minute to share. Please wait. Yeah, is it visible? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it in typically the dynamic hash function. In case of dynamic hashing, last class also I told. In case of static hashing, you see, if a particular key value and let us say that is what we discussed A3, A4, A5, A1, but the bucket size is fixed. That means the bucket starts with bucket number 0, it goes to bucket number 25. In case of dynamic hashing, the bucket size is not fixed. Okay, the bucket size is not fixed. Depending on the whichever the key value is coming to the picture, hash table is actually created. Initially the size of hash table is 0. It is something like this. Initially, the size of the hash table is 0. We are not blocking any typical storage or any typical table size, which is there in case of your conventional hashing or static hashing. So the purpose of the dynamic hashing, otherwise known as extendable hashing. Basic objective same as the classical hashing. First retrieval time, or we try to minimize the searching time, but here the most important is that there will be no wastage of the space. If all the key are start with A, then only I will manage a list of that starts with A. No need of reserving that all the 26 alphabet. Suppose I use a hash function that only maps English alphabet to a integer, like first element goes to location 0, second element goes to location 1. Okay, so in case of without looking into the details, let us look into the difference and then we'll try to justify. Usually a difference is discussed at the end. It allows the number of buckets to vary dynamically. I think it's understood. So in static hashing we fix the bucket. Let us say for alphabet, as I say, I repeat again, it is 0 to 25, 26 number of buckets are fixed. But we do not know whether we'll get a word that starts from M or B or A. That is not known to us. So fixed number of bucket is allocated to the file to store the record, or maybe typically you can say hash table. Second point, it uses a second stage of map bucket associated with some of the search key. So without looking into details, you say second stage of mapping. So there may be two mapping functions are coming to the picture. It uses a fixed hash function. Got it? So here, if you are finding you are not able to store a key or not able to accommodate a particular key value, so there is a second stage mapping. But here the hash function is fixed, then we are taking the help of a collision resolution technique to resolve the problem. Okay, so third point, the performance does not degrade as the file grows, because the searching time is such. You typically imagine that's like a tree like structure, and you want to search a number, and you know the number has a value 5 or 10. You know, if I want to search that the root value is 20, then your search is narrowed down like that. You have to move to the left. If the number is 42, you have to move to the right. So similar type of typical tree organization is used, where we try to look into the bit of the key value. Suppose I'm looking into my left significant bit. If it is 0 1, it branch to somewhat. If it is 1 0, it goes in the other direction. Okay, so the index entries are randomized in a way that the number of index entries in each bucket is roughly same. That means if you look into a typical B tree type of structure, where you can find, suppose you have 4 leaf nodes and you have 5 information, then each node also carry 1 1 1. I mean, that means what is the idea? If you look into the height wise, you'll be finding it is not going to skewed way. You got my point? That means suppose I have a bucket of size 4 and I have 4 buckets. So I can accommodate 16 keys. Okay, but I have only 8 keys. So I have only 8 keys, and we will try to see that irrespective of the key value, it must be uniformly distributed in one label. Treat at a tree, uniformly distributed at a one label, and it uses a dynamic chaining function that we have discussed. That in case of dynamic chaining, we can go on adding the extra nodes if you are finding a collision. So predominantly static hashing requires a collision resolution function, how it is going to address the overflow. So this is you see here we are talking of the number and the data records or the record has to be stored. So here only we are showing two leftmost significant bit. Maybe it will be 8-bit or 16-bit number, 00 and something, 01 is something, 10 is something, 11 is something. So we try to develop a function that 00 goes to a location, that is bucket 0, and when 01 comes, a new bucket is to be created, and let that bucket be B1. When 10 comes, when initially 0001 will be there, they'll be going into, let us say, uh, single bucket B0. Assume that B0 can accommodate 2 keys, but when the third key comes, the splitting task takes place. Okay, the I mean, depending on the arrival of the key, actually splits the bucket into number of bucket. That is the mechanism to be discussed. Now look into this. For example, there are 3 data records with key value D1, D2 and D3. The hash function generates the address. Let us say hash function generate 1001, 01, 01 and 1010. So 3 is so what we try to say, if you look into this diagram, D1 starts with 1. So it maps to 1. D2 first digit is 0. It starts with 0. The problem starts when the third one is coming. When the third one is coming, how it is going to do it? When the third one is coming, this whole is splitted. Instead of considering one bit, we are considering 2 bits. So D1 will map to a location 10, D2 will map to a location 01, and D3 will map to a location 10. If you understood this much, it's over. Dynamic hashing. Initially there are two elements. So initially there are two elements. So we able to accommodate it. Two things can be stored at two places only. When I have third element, I need 2 to the power something that is 2, that is 4 location. So if I got D4, what will happen? If I got D4, definitely the D4 will try to, if it is the D4 is generating some bit with 00, no problem. If D4 generates something that first 2 bit is 10, then it will try to go to this location. But this location is occupied. Then what it try to do? It splits and creates multiple nodes. Okay, it's so and now you see, you look into this, the particular term appears here, tries. That is why I asked in the last class key whether you know the basic concept of the try. Okay, so this particular bucket which is appearing on the left hand side is grows and shrink and the data are accommodated. This is just a rough picture. Now if you will try to define in terms of mathematically, we assume that a file F is a collection of R records. So R records means each record is having a key value key, or you can say when there are R records, it is very much similar to the N, the number of items to be stored. So records are stored in the page or buckets whose capacity is P. Now here the page or bucket, you should not confuse. That day I have shown you a hard disk and a unique addressable area. You can compare that unique addressable area on a surface. Then I told about the sectors. Then I told about track. So a specific track within a sector is fixed size, irrespective of its distance from the center to the boundary of the disk. Okay, let that be 64K. If your page or bucket, that maximum bit you can store, that is 64K. Okay, so that's why I say it's a capacity P. I think it's a clear capacity P, that is the unique addressable area in your secondary storage DBOUT. So what is the goal of the dynamic hash function is to minimize the access to the page. Here, if I able to store 2 key values into a page, that means one is 10, another is 11, and record size is 32. So I'll map to single page. Since they are typically stored on a disk and their retrieval into the memory dominated by the operation. For to understood, I mean to get a clear picture of this third statement only, that day we have discussed disk and the organization, where it will be stored, how it is related to the B tree, how the MA factors is decided, and moreover, the retrieval mechanism is not that I locate the record, the retrieval is over. It will be loaded from secondary memory to the main memory, because we can interpret anything possible that is only in the main memory. So then only I can say I am searching for a record, I found it. Initially address is computed and the read write had to be placed and that's to be moved. So indirectly you can say when I try to search a value, if my hash value is such which directly generates that address, I mean if you look into a typical hard disk, first one is your, you let us come to the, then you come to the surface, then you come to the track. Okay, so cylinder covers your track. Then you come to the surface, then you come to the sector. So with that coding, the read write value is try to read. That means from a key value, if it is possible to generate the address of the block where the information is stored, then it will be faster. So the measure of the space utilization is the ratio of the number of records n divided by the total number of space, that is MP, because the whole capacity is M. M is the number of pages you are storing. So when the typical n number of records, how many page or how many unique address you need. This is, remember it, this is related to the disk organization. So these are the typical uh, dynamic hashing schemes. Again, we try to refer to the papers where we can have the different dynamic schemes are explained. And please remember this, whatever the books or the literature where we refer, they refer, these are not the contribution of the authors, they are the contribution coming from the proposers who propose the different hash function, I mean dynamic hash function. Okay, so this is the reference of the different things. Then broadly we classify the dynamic hashing into two category. One is directory based dynamic hashing, another is directory less dynamic hashing. Directory Directory based hashing means it takes a reference of a table from where it gets the address, and directory less dynamic hashing means you type the roll number, it will directly generate the address, the disk address or the address in a secondary memory where it is stored. Directory based is like this. You provide me the roll number, I'll search a index, find it out, that I can find the detailed information about this particular key value in some location. This is very simple. Directory based dynamic hashing uses a table which is has to be referred to get the information about the actual record, and directory less means you do not that index page. We do not require that index page. You can directly move to the address where the file is stored. Now, this dynamic hashing using directories. So second part is dynamic hashing without using directory. This is typically to make it simpler. It typically uses a binary representation. That means A0, A1, B0, B1 is translated to a binary representation, and these binary representations have to be put into a data structure, and depending on the bit value it is organized. So now this particular, let us say, the key values or the identifier, uh, to explain it, that we take the help of a data structure called trie. Okay, the spelling is TRIE but pronounced as trie, which is a branching based on the last significant bit at the root. And if the bit is 0, the upper branch is taken, otherwise the lower branch. Just I told, you imagine the ripped tree, uh, upper lower, if you forget, you can move to the left or right, or if I'll tilt the tree, you can say upper and lower. Okay, so let us discuss little bit about the trie, and then we'll move into that. Trie is a binary tree which identifier located by its bit sequence or alphabetical sequence. So objective is the lookup has to be faster. Lookup in a key length m takes the worst case in m time. That means based on the length of the key, we try to store them into a data structure is called trie. Now you see, I'm looking for a word by. So this is the tree how the words are stored. I'm looking for a word by. So first word is B, the root is empty. So the and when I am coming to start with the search, so I am looking into the two subtree, another value is B, another value is S. So as this is the by, I move to the left. Then B I am finding, second one is U, then I am moving into that. Third one is that I am moving to the right to the Y, so I locate the word by. So this is possible. That means let us say you defined certain variable, and instead of hash table you want to use try to store your compiler defined variables. Yes, this is one alternative. So basic definition, a recursive T structure that uses digital decomposition of string by representing the set of strings for searching. Suppose I am searching for a spot. So suppose I have to search a word spot. So I'll come to S. I am finding E and T. I am not finding P. So I'll say that particular identifier is not present. Now, this is the standard trie. The standard trie is the set of strings, the order tree such that each node but the root is labeled with a one character. Uh, and the children of the nodes are alphabetically ordered. The path from the external node to the root yields the string of S. Then when you try to calculate a string, you work down from the root to the left or right in the order. So standard trie for set of strings, the words are given beer, bell, but how the creation takes place. And when you start creating, the first word is B. So you write the alphabet B, then you look into the second, then you find E. So you create one more node E. Third, you find a word R and then S. So the complete left map first you created. Then you got the word BE. So B is there, E is there, then you create LL. Then you finding B, bi is the second variable, so we start one more node. Then u is the second variable, we start one more node. Here is the u fine. Then comes s, then comes sc, then st, SE goes to the left, ST goes to the right. This is the way we create the standard tries. And this also uses the same property using case of extendable hashing. Let us assume that at any point of time n neckar has to be stored. Then the value of change n changes over time. That means number of records which is entering we do not know. So what we try to do, we try to design that how we'll store this thing into a unique location. Okay, so here you see the assumption what he has taken m records fit into one disk block. That means I am assuming something like this. If my single location stores 64 kilobyte and each record is 20K, so I can store maximum 3 record. If I am using B tree as a index, then I'll be using the MUA factors to be 3. Clear? If I try to use a B tree as an index, I'll use a MUA search tree or 3-way search tree. Similarly, if my unique location has got 64K and each my record is 10K, so maximum record, maximum record I can store, that is m equal to 6. So I'm looking for a 6-way search tree. This is the way if you try to compare with B tree as a index and hash as a index. And what is the disadvantage of B tree as a index? B tree is a directory based. That means you have to get the information of the record by referring to a index. But hashing has a possibility. You may maintain a directory, you may not maintain a directory. Directly you can move to the location or the address where records are stored. Again, I repeat, even if you move to that location, you cannot be sure that whether the record is there or not, because you cannot do any comparison itself on the disk. The data has to move to the main memory, and in main memory itself, you can perform. I am looking for a particular key value and his information is there. But whereas in case of a B tree, if you are process of searching, if you are not finding that key value in the index, again I'm coming to a directory base, you can conclude that particular key value is absent. That means somebody can ask, okay, before insertion, what is the amount of work, or you explain the insertion process in a typical data structure tree, because we never allowed duplicate there. It's used as a index structure. So we never allowed a duplicate there. So you first get ensure that that key value is not present. So insertion actually preceded by searching. Insertion is always preceded by searching because all these tree structures are used for indexing. But few books and few authors they talk about binary search tree or with duplicate. The specifically designed binary search tree with duplicate where two values are equal. But in general, we talk about where all key value are unique. Okay, so this is the difference, and the objective is to try to get a order of n. Now this is a simple example. If you look into binary number 6 bits, and why we need 4 bucket. Why we need 4 bucket? Let us say this bucket represent a single area on the disk block where we can capable of storing 4 records. And if because there are number of keys and each is capacity 4, so 4 into 4, that is 16 values I can store, and these 16 values are when translated they maps that few the first bucket we have 4 members whose leftmost significant bit is 2200, and second is 01 is put into one group, 10 is put into other group, 11 is put into other group. Now if a new item arrives that starts with 01, no problem, we have two space. 11, we no problem, we have two space left. Then if a item comes, with 00, then you look into the upper part, we'll change there. Instead of 4 information, how many information will be there? We are using 3 bit, that is 000. We'll consider the third bit 000001. In that way you have 2 to the power 3, and that is 8 number of informations will be there in the directory, first directory, 8 nodes. So the whole mapping process will be changed. Imagine The whole mapping process will be changed when the 30 first will consider 30 in the first bucket. I mean the first bucket you have only one entry is will 30. That will the first bucket will contain only that item. Then second bucket, suppose address is 001. So 001 will contain the second item, third item and the fourth item from the first bucket. Okay. And similarly you are coming to 0101 100. So the whole thing will be again reorganized. Okay. So this is the example of extendable hashing, or you can say the directory based hashing. So this is tried to express in terms of a mathematical formula, but once you have understood how it takes. So in extendable hashing, there are two parts. One is the directory. The directory stores the address of the bucket. You see the directory stores address of the bucket in pointer, means the directory stores which are the key value stored at a particular location of the disk. Address of the buckets, it is actually the address of the disk. Buckets are used to hash the actual data value that stores into that the disk address. Okay, so this is the extendable hashing basic concept. Has two path. Part first, a directory is maintained which stores the address. Then we have a location or buckets. These buckets are nothing but the locations on your hard disk where it is stored. So the term which is frequently used in extendable hashing, that is directories, bucket and the global depth. The global depth is the number of bits in the directory ID. As I have explained initially, the buckets are based on first 2 bit. More number of items are coming, so they are going to 3 bits. What is the local depth? Because if you look into a binary tree, there is a depth, and depending on the number of bit you try to do the branching. So depth is that you start from the root value and going to the leaf, I mean any leaf node that represents the depth, and always we try to go for a fatty tree, as I say. So depth we try to do it minimum as possible. So second, I mean the last but one phenomena is bucket splitting. Bucket splitting I have explained that when if you'll come to this, if I am finding one more key enters with first 2 bits is 0, then this bucket will not able to accommodate. Let us say a item enters with first 3 bit 0. So it will refer to first 2 bit. Bucket is full. So this bucket will be splitted. One bucket will be created with 3 bit, last 3 bit as 00. So new entry and the first member goes into that, and the rest 3 member goes into the bucket that represents 001. Okay, so that is the bucket splitting. You split the buckets, and you can split the bucket even because you know what is the maximum capacity of the bucket. Okay, then directory expansion. Directory expansion is like this. If you got all the key value, you see this is the list. When you have unique entries, this directory represent that you have. Let us say each bucket has 4, but all are to be start with 000. I am happy with that. But if I am finding more items are coming and I am not able to address more number of item with first 2 bit, so then what I have to do? I have to change this directory. I have to expand it. Expansion I'll be finding 8 000 like that. Okay, so this bucket, I mean the directory is nothing but the represents the number of buckets. I mean sorry, the index, and that index actually taken from the key and the first, the leftmost significant digit. And again I repeat, when we look into the bucket, this bucket has got a fixed capacity. They should include at least one yeah, I mean record or multiple records. So these are the typical terms with the help of that we can discuss. So this is the basic working of the extendable hashing. The data first converted to the binary. We take the help of the hash function hx, which returns the directory location name, and the directory points to the bucket because we store the insert the key into the bucket and stores the disk location along with that particular key value, but actually data moves to the disk and it is stored there. Okay. So you see, actual data, you look into this second arrow, actual data traverse to the bucket. You store the roll number, you store the location where the student is staying, but actually the student is staying, then the student moves to the hostel with bag and baggage and is staying there. Okay, so this is simply as a record. You store the roll number and the address of the hostel, and actual the student stays in the hostel. That is why this arrow, the data traverse to the bucket, and bucket is a location, data is stored or hashed there or resides there. Okay, we'll stop with this. I think you may have the class. Other people has to leave. Uh, so you have any queries? I have not uploaded this dynamic hashing today.
Sir,
Yes, please.
sir, in programming assignment, I am still having problem with the quick insertion short
Okay.
program.
Okay.
Uh,
Now, what time you will be comfortable again so that we can meet?
uh, sir, right now,
Right now, it's not possible, man. Sorry, because uh, I have many assignments. I do not know. Huge number of purchases. I have to be in front of the PAC committee to get the MATLAB file through. I'm waiting from last Saturday when the committee will sit and I have to defend.
sir, actually,
So
the
my
problem is
director
that,
will
sorry, sir,
second half. Second half. What is your engagement?
in second half, sir, I think we have some extra class at 3.
After 5.
No, sir, I don't think after 5 we have any class.
You can just call me after 5 if I'll be, I mean,
Sir, we have
faster.
English class at 5.
No, I don't have any problem. You see, I used to discuss with somebody with 9:30 and it's not a issue for me. Just but these 2 days is again a critical, crucial for me. For BTech admission as well as lot of purchase clearance. If I'll not doing it in this week, I'll be killed by my director. Because there is a lot of difficulties. I have to move from residence to residence sometime to requesting the people to sign the file. Okay, you don't go through that. Just I am sharing how the files and how the government procedure goes. Nobody is coming
Okay.
out, but I have to move from door to door to my colleague also. So I requested them to meet yesterday. They could not say. They say yes, we will only meet in Wednesday. If I'm not clearing MATLAB and ANSYS file and my VC file today, I have to wait for 1 more week. Uh, so as per my credential, I should not go to them, but I have to be present so that things will be faster in front of them. So we can meet in second half. We can meet even after 5:30 or 6, whatever it may be. Because I have to take a critical call at 7:30 or 8 regarding the 2 days admission process, which has to be wind up. Uh, so, that is the decision I have to give, that you close the admission, upload the things, the decision comes from me. And yesterday we close at 8 and we continue up to 11:30 in night and finish it. So in between, you can say 6 to 8. I think I'll be free. Yesterday there was a farewell meeting, so I was not free. If you say, I'll be available.
Okay, sir. Sir, and one more problem that I'm asking again for the that DNA file, because we have only till Saturday to submit our level assignment 1 and 2.
Which
And
one?
sir, in string matching problem, you said that you will provide DNA file and
Okay,
binary file also
okay.
for string matching.
DNA file and others is available with the link. Uh, that link I'll share. Uh, is a complete file is there. I'll share. Okay, I'm noting it down because you see,
Sir,
we
yes, sir.
you need the that is for string matching you are talking of, na?
Yes, sir.
String matching you wait. String matching assignment you wait because let me finish the theory, because even if your second sem starts, you'll still getting an opportunity to submit the things. So, but let me finish that. Huh?
Sir,
DNA
but
link I'll. Hmm.
in MS Team we have deadline of
Load it.
5th of this till this
You
Saturday.
load it, but
Okay.
you load that thing. DNA bank is available in the online if you, but we don't go for a bigger DNA bank.
Yes, sir. I actually downloaded human chromosome, one
No, no,
first
that's
human chromosome.
that is the bigger bank. There is a very large bank.
It's a
What
74 MB. That one.
people are doing PhD bioinformatics. People are doing PhD on that. Okay, we needed a larger DNA string just. We need just a larger DNA string. For I mean string matching. Maybe one page with data will be sufficient. Okay, one page
Okay.
data will be sufficient.
Sir,
Yes,
hello, sir.
yes, yes.
Sir, in the majority element question, you said that the probability of missing should come around 0.00097. So my worst case probability is coming 0.00014 and it's going below that. So that should be okay, right?
No, that is okay. Which language you are using?
Python.
But it's you see this random routine and others also depends on language because they are not sharing the common routine because it's a patented one. Suppose Borderland uses something and GNU compiler uses something, so it will be different. But you see, if 90% it comes, it's good. All answer, if everybody got a different answer and you just a different platform machine, floating point constant, somebody writes and see it uses a large memory module, somebody uses small memory module, so all are accepted. Do you know that in C++ and others, I mean, what is the size of the memory you can address? And suppose you want to do it, actually you have to fix those things, whether it uses a large memory module or small memory module. You look into that if you are using Borderland and others. There are a lot of constants are there. So the accuracy depends on that, right? So 9 is pretty good. That means 90% of time got positive. That is acceptable. Okay,
Okay, sir. Thank
that
you.
is acceptable.
And sir, in a question TSP tour for question in assignment one, you asked, you asked, क्या बोलते हैं, TSP tour with limiting case, and
Okay.
that is choose any limiting number. If it is lower than that, do not search that branch. So I
Okay.
also want to discuss that question also with you.
Okay, that is limiting means TSP tour. It is not more than exactly. Okay, let me open the question. Uh, I have to look into that.
Sir, can I share
Yeah, you can say.
my result?
Yeah,
Okay,
please.
okay, let me share.
But I can take maximum 1 and 2, huh? So,
Okay, sir. Uh, Yes, sir, in this question. Sir, is it
okay.
visible?
Yeah, yes, right.
Um, Zoom also.
Okay.
So, sir,
Actually, let me tell you what he tried to say. Look into the first line. Write a program to verify the candidate solution as TSP2 is correct. What exactly that? We talk about NP complete problem. You see, these all are related to always to your theory. We say a problem if you can verify a solution in polynomial time, then say NP complete.
mm, yes, sir.
Okay. Don't look into a programming perspective. That means you have a algorithm and you are capable of verifying the solution in polynomial time. That is the objective of the first. That means you. This is a very simple question, but why it is given that you take a arbitrary solution, you are able to verify, and your algorithm terminates in polynomial time. Got it?
Yes, sir.
That is the idea. First one, that if you if only by studying theoretically that okay, a problem can be NP complete, then this is one of the property. Even if we do not know exact solution, I mean algorithm to find out the solution, but solution can be verified in polynomial time. Okay, that is the first part. To give you a feel that I can write a polynomial bound algorithm that verifies the solution. Okay, then next. The input of this program will consist of a graph, that is the input of the things, and the graph may be expressed in matrix, that is also restricted, that you should use a adjacency matrix and distance between cities. If no door directly connected to the parasites, matrix entry will be 0. This is again a representation. The certificate, you remember this word certificate is also appears where? When we discuss NP complete problem with reference to the language and others, we call a certificate. And when we discuss even circuit satisfiability problem, we call certificate. That is, suppose there are 3 bits, 100 is certificate, something like this we are using. And here we say certificates consist of a sequential list of cities visited during the tour. What is that? Now we have 20 cities, right? You have 20 cities and the 20 cities are arranged in a order, right? 20 cities are arranged in a order. So all permutation of the cities, we have the exponential out of which you are finding a sequence. So that is the certificate. Visited city during the order, target value of the tour is not exceeded because you want to complete the tour. Not exceeded means you have to look for a typical value that total tour should not exceed that. Okay, and why is not exceeded is included. Sometimes it is difficult to find out the optimal solution. And here the second part is says any tour which is less than a particular quantity is accepted. Okay, so then last line you see, it is a very simple algorithm just to verify, just to address the problem that we can verify the solution in polynomial time. And if you look into the last but one statement that you want to search, you want to say, suppose initially I have given you a sequence, you are checking whether it is a tour or not. That part is clear or not, you tell me. I have
Yes,
you
sir.
have a problem, I am giving you a random sequence A B C D E F. Is it a tour? You are capable of saying yes or no. That is done. Second, I'll say a sequence along with is it is a tour which costs less than this? That is the second part. That's all. It's a very simple question. We are not looking into a dynamic programming or any other solution to find out the TSP. It is only about
The tour
the
and the certificate we will just use statically, no?
yes, yes. You see, this is a very simple thing when we read in
Yeah,
one line in theory that we can verify the solution in polynomial time. Here we are verifying in two ways. One way simply asking whether this sequence is a path. Second, we are asking this sequence along with the cost is a path or not.
So
Okay.
path means the minimum path
No, no,
in
no,
TSP.
nowhere I have asked minimum. Nowhere.
Oh,
so I am printing like that, na. Just suppose I have 4 nodes, so I am printing like that. 04213 is the path, and the optimal cost is this.
No, that is a dynamic programming solution. This is a very simple program, na. We do not
Yes,
know
yes.
the solution. You do not know the solution. We do not have an algorithm to find out the best. But for a given problem, if I'll supply a sequence, you are telling me this is path or not. Okay,
Yeah, just I am
that means
printing
you are,
that one also. The 01321 is path or not. That's one.
yes, that's all. And second, I try to add one more constant that a path and suppose a constant is given that your path should be less than that.
yes, sir. For a correct path, that should be. I mean, if we have four nodes, one, two, three, four, and
Okay.
we have given a path one to two, two to three, three to four, and four to one,
Mhm.
and
Okay.
then we should say yes, it's a path because starting and ending destination are same, like that.
Mhm.
And for second question, we have constrained that the path length should be something less than the limiting value, target value.
Yes, 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 that's all. Only two part. It's a very simple verification algorithm. At least you will have a feel. Only you are not remembering the definition. The solutions can be verified at polynomial time, and you are developing an algorithm or writing a program which terminates in polynomial time, able to verify a set of input whether it is a tour plus a set part of input plus constant which is acceptable to you. That's all. So let us do one thing. When you'll be free today afternoon? You tell me.
So today afternoon from 1 to 3, I guess.
No, 1 to 3. It will be difficult.
From 4 to 6.
I can take you after for 5. It's not a issue. Huh?
So from 5 to 6.
5 to 6 I can discuss the lab work. It's not an issue. Okay. Okay. 5 to 6. But I'm keeping in mind in case I talk of or other else from my side I'll start the meeting for the lab class. Okay.